Welcome to lesson 13 of Financial Sobriety School. I am so excited because this is the last foundation of Financial Sobriety School. Don't worry, not the end of the lessons, just the end of explaining and having you start to put into place. Mr. Bodie's coming for a visit here, of putting into place all of what it takes to start to achieve financial sobriety. So, with that, with lesson 13, we are going to work on the last foundation, which is your financial sobriety strategy. And so, what that means is starting to put into place how much you're going to save. What are some different tools you're going to use to start to figure out how you're going to start to pay off your debt? Systems to put into place like bank accounts and savings and auto transfers and all of that sort of stuff. Don't worry. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to talk about it and I'm going to lead you through. So, what I mean when it comes to a strategy is exactly that, having a plan. Money loves a plan. Money loves for us to plan ahead and know exactly what it expects of us. So, going back, lesson 10 was talking about your financial inventory. So, with that, what that is talking about and is, being able to, if you're watching this, you'll see Bodhi trying to be extremely affectionate with me, and this is a lot better of having him in the lesson than him being on the other side of the door because he will not stop. If you have an animal that loves you so much that he's obsessed with you, um, that's kind of like what Bodhi is, and I love it, but then I don't love it. So, because when I'm trying to do something like this, and it just turns into, hey, cuddle me and pay all the attention to me. So, going back to lesson 10 will be great if you haven't listened to it or watched it yet, because it talks about the financial inventory. So, really getting clear about what you have for bank accounts, what you have for expenses, debt, what you have investments, all of that. Collecting your financial inventory. Lesson 11 was financial literacy. So that is starting to talk about the concept of understanding your accounts. Like financial inventory is getting everything together. Lesson 11 with financial literacy is starting to talk about ways to make those work for you and to really understand what they are. So if you haven't gone back to listen or watch those lessons, head on back because I think that is going to be a good place to go, because on in all these lessons that I am providing, they are all building on top of each other. So, and all the foundations are building to get to a place of financial sobriety. So, the last foundation being your financial sobriety strategy. So, what do you have to work with? What is the amount of your debt? What is the amount that you have in savings? And there was a lot of emotional stuff we talked about in the last lesson of going from surviving to thriving with your money. So, again, if you haven't listened or watched that one, head on back there because understanding what you have, why you have it, all of that is really important. So now it comes to, so what are you going to do with it? That's where the strategy comes into place. So, one strategy I want to talk about that is my favorite tool to recommend to people is what I like to call the bank account hierarchy. And what I mean by that is almost like a waterfall with your account. So you have your main checking account where all the money goes into. And then from there, you have some money go into savings, you have some money going into debt, you have some money going into different accounts or different payments. So they all start in one account and then kind of drizzle into each other. So an example of this is you get paid, money goes into your checking account, the main checking account, and you want to start to save $50 a paycheck. So you're going to have a payment plan set up. You can do this within your bank. It's called a pre-authorized debit. Here in Canada, that's what it's called anyways, or an auto transfer. So the day you get paid, you can set it up that your bank automatically moves $50 from your checking account. And again, it's going to do that little waterfall effect and go into your savings account. You won't even notice it. There it is sitting in your savings account. And having bridging your savings accounts, I love having different savings accounts. I don't love having just one because each savings account should have a different purpose. So one could be saving for a trip, one might be saving for gifts, something like Christmas, something like that. Saving for your annual expenses, that could be another savings account. The best is when banks allow you to name your bank accounts in your online banking so that you can actually like put a name on it. This is the purpose of this one. This is the purpose of this one. So again, that bank account hierarchy and the money going into one account and then streaming into others when it comes to our saving strategy. And then this can also help support you with debt as well. So when your money goes into your checking account, maybe you have a certain amount every paycheck you want to start to pay down on your debt. You can set up an automatic payment so that is done for you, which is amazing, right? So just then, drizzling into your debt, having that start to pay off that way. Another part of bank account hierarchy that I love to talk about is having one main account. Again, so everything goes into that account, and then maybe having a second checking account specifically for your spending. So, what I mean by spending is having one specific account for um, your groceries, your gas, your eating out budget, like all of that variable stuff that can change month to month, but that you're actually using your debit card and paying for. That's what I would call like your spending account. And with that, because like if you keep it all in one checking account, sometimes it's really hard to decipher, like, okay, well, how much do I have left to use for groceries? Like, and you have to like minus out all that pre-authorized like bill payments maybe that have to come out. So having like your first checking account, the main one, to have like, say your cell phone bill comes automatically out of that, or your electricity, your insurances, all of that, like your bill payment. So you'll have an amount that okay, this is how much I need in my checking account, the main one. And then, okay, so I have $300 for groceries this month. Believe me, that's not realistic, but I'm just throwing a number out there. 300 for groceries, 200 for gas, and I have 100 for eating out. So that's $600 total that you would have go into your spending account. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, you can put $300 in there every 2 weeks, and that's your spending money. So groceries, gas, eating out, and things like that. Sometimes clothing. There's things like that. There can be so many different categories that fall under spending. But yeah, having that account so it's a lot easier to keep track of what you're spending on what. And then it allows you to stay in that boundary of, okay, well, that's only how much I have in there. Have one debit card for it, and that's what you use it for. I know that this works a lot for people. That's the strategy I use because it just helps me visualize and see it so much clearer, because I know still tracking my spending is important, and that's a big thing for me now. But when it comes to, kind of working out a strategy, the bank account hierarchy is a perfect strategy to start to organize your money. Um, Saving your way out of debt is a theory and a strategy that I learned from Karen McCall. She does the Financial Recovery Institute, and I did my coach certification through there as a financial recovery counselor. But she has a strategy that I love called Saving Your Way Out of Debt. So a lot of you are here because spending money and being addicted to spending money, overspending, compulsive spending is something you're struggling with. So, debt is something that is part of your story. So, with saving your way out of debt, the way she explains it, and I love, is you know, plugging the hole of accumulating any more debt. Stop the madness, um, stop the bleeding, just like, you know, plug that hole. Always, pay your minimum payments when you're first starting this strategy and this journey. Just keep up with your minimum payments. And I talk about this one in financial literacy as well, because a lot of people would say, like, well, why would you only pay your minimum payment? Because we're dealing with behaviors that we're like having a really hard time controlling our spending. So making sure we pay our minimum payments on our credit cards, plug the hole, get rid of the credit cards out of your wallet, off of your online banking in regards to things that you can pay with, get like erase, not using them anymore, and plug the hole, pay the minimum payment, and then start to move, even if you move $25 a month into savings, $50, $100. Because what the overall strategy with that is starting to build a nest egg so that when something comes up that you need to spend money on, you're not reaching for credit. You're not accumulating any more debt. You're using some savings for that. And it starts to begin that behavior of saving, because those of us who overspending all of that don't even understand, like, savings. What is that? Like, I have savings and then I move it directly into my checking account because I don't have enough money, right? How good would it feel if you even had like $500 in a savings account and something happened and you needed the money and you didn't have to put it on your credit card? How good would that feel? And then you start to build your way up, kind of like a pyramid in regards to, once, you've saved up a little bit, then start to put a little bit more on your debt, but still saving at the same time. And then starting to build those habits of saving our way out of debt. Always love that one. I think that another thing that is so important is looking at like tools online to help you figure out time periods to like pay off debt or time periods to accumulate a certain amount of savings. I'm going to put these in the show notes for watching it or listening. So, for example, if you have a $10,000 line of credit that you want to pay off within 5 years, and so you can use a calculator online that you can plug those numbers in and it'll tell you like how much you have to pay every month to have it paid off in 5 years. And this is where money loves the specificity, right? It loves you to be crystal clear. Okay, cool. That line of credit, it's going to be gone in 5 years. It's done, right? Or if there's a certain amount of money that you have that you can put towards a line of credit payment. So you put that in the calculator and then it'll tell you if that's how much money you're putting on a line of credit every month, how long it's going to take to pay it off. So say, for example, you can pay $200 on it and you plug in all the numbers and it says that within 7 years you'll have it paid off. Amazing. Then you'll have an idea and a picture in your mind of, okay, in 7 years, this is going to be gone. And how good is that going to feel? And yeah, 7 years feels like a long time, but 7 years can go by like that. Right. And at least you're starting to pay it off and being in the never, never plan of not paying extra onto it. So I think that, and even with the saving, right? How if I put this much money in a savings account and this is how much interest I'm going to be earning, this is how much I'm going to accumulate in a certain amount of time. Having those ideas and that concrete information really brings your strategies to life. It's not like, oh, I want to save money. Oh, I would love to pay off my debt. Well, what does that actually mean? What do those timelines actually look like? And once it starts to come to life with time periods and dollar amounts, that's where it feels safety starts to come into play. That's where it starts to be like, hey, I can do this, right? Because I think, yeah, it's always really nice to have a clear picture of your goals in last lesson, I talked about hopes and dreams and starting to really think about that. Maybe your hopes and dreams could be, I want to pay off that line of credit in 5 years. What an amazing thing to be able to have a plan for. And again, when our plans start to come to life with specific numbers, specific timelines, that's where that flow and that energy of money really happens, because money's like, hey, cool. Like, I know what she wants from me. I know what is expected of me. And amazing things start to happen when people are really paying attention and making a plan with our money. I can't stress that enough when it comes to financial sobriety. Making a plan, having some numbers together and working out a strategy, your financial sobriety strategy, and how powerful that's going to be for your financial sobriety. But what I also want to say to that is it's not going to be perfect, right? So we can have this plan and it's like, and then, oh my goodness, I have to get a new vehicle, or my child needs to get braces and those are thousands of dollars, or just so many things in our lives can go wrong with money. And I don't want to pretend that it doesn't, because we're not going to live in a perfect world with our money. Stuff is going to come up. But when we expect that, like, this isn't going to be perfect. I don't know if I've ever felt like money's felt perfect. Maybe occasionally, every once in a while, it's like, yeah, this is like everything's going according to plan. But there's going to things that are going to kind of come up that'll really throw you off, your grounding, throw you off access is what I kind of talk about. And that's where the Britney Spears song comes in. If you've worked with me before, you know that, like, blaring, oops, I did it again, some Miss Britney Spears. Just like, okay, that happened, but taking the next right step. Maybe you can't make that $500 line of credit payment that was going to have it paid off in 5 years. Adjust your sales, do some more calculations, different calculations, and then just get specific again about where are you landing right now. What is, if you are having to pay out some money for some stuff, what does that mean? And it's just information, right? And you may think like, oh my goodness, I'm a failure, I'm never going to figure this out, I'm never going to pay off my debt. Yes, you are, because you are being super clear about what you want to do with your money. And if you completely give up on that and just don't even stick to a plan, then you won't. So it's just really getting back to that. Okay, this happened, acceptance. Maybe you made a decision with spending that you regretted, like buying a new vehicle when you didn't need to. Okay, what do you need to do to start to move forward from that? How can you forgive yourself and release that guilt and that shame so you can move forward? All of that is part of your financial sobriety strategy. And the biggest piece of that strategy is this isn't going to be perfect. Money is always changing. Our lives are always changing. If we have a time period of like, this is what's going to happen in 5 years, a lot can happen in your life in 5 years. My advice to you always is just adjust your sails. Just go with the wind, right? We're just adjusting our sails and making the next right decision. And because you're doing that, money will work for you. I know that to be true 100%. It happens all the time with my clients, with myself. We're living a life, right? And life is not always easy. But if we just keep working at it, our strategy will start to come to life. Oh, feels so good to even say that. That was the last in the series of the Foundations of Financial Sobriety School. So, really listening, I'll just bring it up here, but the 6 or 7 foundations of financial sobriety are: 1, understanding your financial feelings; 2, your financial sobriety tools; 3, your financial inventory; 4 is sober spending; 5 is financial literacy; 6 is surviving to thriving, and 7 is financial sobriety strategy, which is that what was what this lesson was on. And there's lessons on all 7 of those. So that's my program that I work with people to go through the Financial Sobriety School. The lessons are here for you. Have a listen to them, work the lessons, and please reach out if you need any support. I am here for you. Thank you so, so much for listening or watching. Please leave a review or subscribe. Let's get this out to people. You are worthy of financial sobriety. Thank you so much. Be well, and I'll see you in the next lesson.